Controlling, the net is empty, he throws it down, and in! He scored the goal! Martin Brodeur!
The hockey gods are Red Wing fans too, it appears. The Lightning have done it! They have done it! They have gone back to back!
Unbelievable.
Welcome back to another episode of Shut Your Five Hole and Listen. I am Stephanie, and I am your resident Devils fan, and I will have a lot to talk about today.
And I'm Muffy. I am the Red Wings fan of the group here, and I do not have as much to talk about as Stephanie does.
So many things.
So why don't we just dive right into it, because we have a ton of news to talk about today. And we'll talk about the trade deadline because that just passed on March 8th. Time of recording is March 11th. So in the last episode, you said you didn't get a goaltender for Christmas. Maybe you'll get one at the trade deadline. And you did.
Well, I got two, but why did they trade away Tyler Toffoli, their top goal scorer? Core to the team. Great guy. And for draft picks. I was trying not to curse, and I don't know why, because I curse all the time. But they traded him for, like, peanuts.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
And I don't understand, because it couldn't even been, like, a cap thing, because Dougie Hamilton's on IR, which means if he came back in the playoffs, the salary cap doesn't matter. One day we'll talk about how weird that is. But, like, okay, so goaltenders, who did we get? We got Jake Allen from the Montreal Canadiens, and we got Kaapo Kähkönen. That's a hard one to say. Kaapo Kähkönen from the San Jose Sharks. San Jose and the Devils did a little bit of a switcheroo, and Vitek Vanacek went over to the Sharks along with a 7th-round draft pick. Both of these picks greatly boost the goaltending. Jake Allen is a great choice. It seems like it's more of a rental situation because Montreal is retaining 50% of his annual salary. So we'll see.
This is a total sidebar with this.
Yeah.
I have such a hard time with Jake Allen because at the time that I even realized he existed as a goaltender, it was also football season, and we have Josh Allen, the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. And it was also around the same time that the season of Dancing with the Stars featured Jimmy Allen, the country singer. And I was like, there are too many J names and Allens, and I kept like tripping over whichever one I wanted to talk about and their names. So total sidebar, but every time I see Jake Allen now, that's all I think of. I'm like, Jake, Josh, Jimmy, which one?
I went to college with a Jake Allen, and for the longest time, I kept getting confused, and I'm like, he didn't play hockey. So there you go. I actually think this, weirdly, I think this will work out for Vanacek. I think he's on a team that is...
I hope he brings Frenchie braces to his new teammates.
And for those of you who don't know, he does speak with an accent and made the cutest of language things when he was going around handing out friendship bracelets to all of the teams on one of their reels, and he called them Frenchie braces, and it was just...
Go back and listen to our season 2 premiere if you want a little bit more on it.
Oh my God, so cute. So I hope it works out for him. I mean, San Jose does seem to be where former Devils goaltenders go, though, to, I don't know, go out to pasture, but I mean, Blackwood has injury problems. And what does this mean for up-and-coming Devils goalies Akira Schmidt and Nico Dawes? They're going to go get more time in the AHL, and I have a feeling that the Jake Allen of it all is to get them into the playoffs, see how it goes. He might be a rental, and our friend Kaapo Kähkönen might be the guy who stays with Schmidt or Dawes being backup. This is pure speculation. I'm just making things up.
We thought Timo Meier was going to be a rental last year, too, and he stayed. So,
well, the culture, but I'm jumping ahead here, and this is why I have so much to talk about. Some of that was the culture, and they were on the rise last year. Yet they were riding high. They beat the Rangers unexpectedly in the playoffs. They have a solid squad. They felt like they had their coaching staff together. And then on top of trading Tyler Toffoli at the trade deadline a week before, like literally right after we recorded the last pod, they fire Lindy Ruff. I know there's a lot of people who are like, this makes sense. Yeah. You got to change things up. I think this was dumb.
Mm-hmm. You and I have talked about that what the Devils seem to have was a goaltending problem, not a coaching problem.
No. And this may also be coming from, our other team we watch is the Tampa Bay Lightning. And Coop's a great coach. The Lightning have gone through ups and downs, but they didn't fire Coop because they believed in his system. And I'm sorry, Lindy Ruff is one of the winningest coaches in NHL history. Why would you get rid of him? PK Subban did a reel about this, and normally I agree with most of what he says. The 3 things he called out, 2 were not Lindy's fault. Injuries, I am sorry, that's not your coach's fault.
No, unless he's going around whacking people with sticks in the locker room when they don't do what he wants, not the coach's fault.
Unless he's Tanya Harding them, that is not the coach's fault. I'm sorry, that's just not his fault. The one thing that I do think he could have done better is they have a lot of young guys swimming around on the 3rd and 4th line that during all of these injuries, he could have given them more playing time. Could have given them more time on that 1st and 2nd line to build out the bench, build up their confidence. But that I feel like could have been addressed with management having a conversation. This just came out of left field. It's not his fault. People get hurt. And the goalie problem, which was the other thing that Mr. Subban, who I do generally agree with, brought up. That's also not his problem.
No, there's other people involved in that organization that have to address that.
Come on, Marty Brodeur, working on there like the goaltending god. That is your program. What the fuck, dude? I don't know. So that's what's happening in Jersey, guys. It's a fucking shit show. And we'll see if it pays off. I honestly don't know, because I do think while the goalie things are great, I think that brings team morale up. I think getting rid of Toffoli and firing your coach is definite morale killers. So we'll see. Anyway, should we talk about teams that are not New Jersey?
Sure. So the Panthers, after going to the Stanley Cup final last year, are definitely trying to make their way back there. And they acquired Vladimir Tarasenko from the Ottawa Senators, which is a huge get for them.
Huge get.
The Senators are also retaining 50% of Tarasenko's salary. So kind of another... We'll see where this goes after the season, but definitely a pick that they got with that hopes of keeping their cup finals dream alive.
Yeah, it's a good pickup. Tarasenko, we were joking a little bit that he needs to find his forever home. And based on this deal, I don't know if Florida is his forever home, but I think he's a good player to round out that squad. Brings a lot of finesse, brings a lot of really nice things to their game, because they are a rock'em sock'em team, and Tarasenko can add a bit more.
And he did win a cup with the St. Louis Blues in 2019, so that adds just kind of a little bit of the mentality of being there as well. It's not... You know what it takes to get there, and a lot of the squad knows what it takes to get to the final and lose, so you've got that fire lit under you as well. So I think it was a very good pickup for the Panthers.
Great pickup. Florida Panthers do tend to choke in the playoffs, and it's not Roberto Luongo's fault because he doesn't even play anymore. But speaking of the 2019 Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues, shall we talk about Patty Maroon?
Let's talk about Pat Maroon, one of our favorite players who we were devastated to lose with the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Devastated.
Yes. Well, Pat found his way over to Boston from the Minnesota Wild, And I love this for him because
me too.
He's another chance to win another cup. And Boston is such a gritty team, especially with Brad Marchand. And Pat is such a gritty, tough player. Gonna be amazing.
Yeah. They're gritty, but they don't take themselves too seriously. And that's totally Brad Marchand, Pasternak. None of them, they all know they're good. They're not Ovechkin. No. They're not Kucherov. No. You know, this is not like...
They're a goofy group of guys. They are goofy goobers.
They really are. I honestly think they picked him up for the grit, for the chirping, but I also think they wanted a little bit of that Patty Maroon Stanley Cup champion luck to rub off on them. So, you know, the Patrick, it's real. And I'm just excited to watch Pat and Brad play on the same team. They're not going to be on the same line, but it's going to be fun, and I would not want to be playing against them, basically because they're going to be just annoying.
The most annoying team of the year goes to the Boston Bruins.
Well, depends on how you define it.
Well, I guess that's true.
This is my sidebar now. So we all know Muffy also watches, you know, the football. I watch the baseball. And I have decided, this is totally out of left field, by the way. Well, because I went to annoying team and I went like, oh, because you can kind of feel like the Maple Leafs are annoying. And then I immediately thought, no. Their fans are annoying. Their Maple Leafs fans are the Yankees fan of the NHL. They're just annoying. They were really good once. They're holding on to it. And now they're just annoying fans.
There you go.
Please don't at me, Maple Leaf fans or Yankees fans. They're, you know what?
You know what? Every survey comes back talking about how obnoxious the Maple Leafs fans are. They're used to it. They can chirp back, but it's not going to change the fact.
I'm from Jersey. I can take it. Come at me. What are you going to do? What? Take those hoops out. Drop the gloves. I'm short. I'll just kick you in the shins. So, Muffy, what other big trades have been going on?
Carolina is also trying to make their way towards a cup run. I mean, they're sitting in second in the Metropolitan, and I'm totally going to butcher his name because I know how to say it every time I hear it, but then I try to read it. Guznetzel.
Gnetzel.
Yep.
Normally I'm pretty good.
You are.
That one's hard for me.
And it's one of those things, it's just the order of the letters trip me up, but like if I'm seeing him on TV and like hear it, I absolutely know it. And then I look at it and I'm like, how the hell do you say that name?
Yeah. No, it's tough. Yeah.
Let's just call him Jake. Jakey boy left the Penguins and is going to the Carolina Hurricanes. And that was a blockbuster trade.
Well, I think because it actually says more about the state of the Penguins than it does about the Hurricanes. This is when you give away a guy like that at the trade deadline, you are signaling we are entering our rebuild phase hard. Mm-hmm. And what's wild about that is Sidney Crosby is still arguably one of the best players in the league, and you are dismantling his support system.
And it's funny you should bring that up because the Bit and Chicklets podcast, and we all know how I feel about Biz, but I have to agree with Biz on this one.
I'm coming around on Biz. I hate to say it.
You know what? I don't mind him with the podcast and like those kinds of things. I just don't think I like him as a commentator. I think that may be where it comes in.
Yeah, I think I get you. He doesn't thread that needle in the same way like PK does. Like he's trying to be like that goofball kind of guy that like is the levity, and he just doesn't have the swag that PK has. I don't know. But also, PK and Mark Messier's energy is nice together. Anyway, we're not talking about commentators.
Anyways, Biz said basically the same thing. Like, arguably, Crosby is one of the best players out there. The Penguins are falling apart. Like, how long do you keep him? He only has a couple good years left, probably. Like, send him to a team where he can actually perform with people who are going to boost his skills up than just sitting there and I get like loyalty to the hometown. He probably wants to retire a Penguin because there's so much history there, but like, I guess does loyalty outweigh another cup run? I don't know.
Well, because then you got on the flip side, you got a guy like Steven Stamkos, who is, I would say, in a similar position, and the team is teetering, and he wants to stay. And, there are rumors that they're not even going to renew his contract. I bet Sid wants to stay, but I also feel like he likes to win. And if he's not going to win, he's not going to stay. You can say a lot about Sidney Crosby and whether or not he's a crybaby, or if you blink at him too hard, he gets hurt. But he is good.
When he's healthy, he's good. When he's not concussed, he's good.
He is that phenom type player, and it's just wild to see. I feel like Pittsburgh is spiraling fantastically. Like it's wild. They went from being so good to so bad so quickly. Usually there's like a slow decline, and this was just like, oof, man.
Slow decline.
Yes, but their pickups, Anthony Duclair and Matt Dumas, like those were fire. And they came out hot and they kicked the crap out of the Flyers like next game. Like that's what the Lightning were missing. They were missing their fire. They got rid of Maroon, Corey Perry, and Belmar. They got rid of their scrappy guys and they were missing that fire. And they fucking brought that fire back with these two. That was not on the schedule to what we were talking about, but
we can talk about all the trades if we really wanted to, but I don't think our listeners want to hear us talk about that.
I think the Lightning with those two guys, they are looking to not be wild card.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting end to the season for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Well, let's talk about one more thing with the trades before we move on to another topic. And this goes back to Boston with the best goalie bromance in the league.
I can't even believe they were thinking of doing this.
I know. The Bruins were looking to trade Linus with LA.
And he said no.
Good for him. His best goalie bromance in the league.
I mean, you don't really get a lot of goalie bromances, and you can't break that team up. No. I was proud that he stood up for himself and was like, look, I am Linus Ullmark. I am one half of the greatest hockey bromance of our time. I'm saying no. So, I take it.
Snaps for Linus.
Whew. So those are our hot takes on some of the hottest trade takes.
Yes. Now let's move into a topic that...
There's no good way to transition into this.
We've talked about it a couple times before, but we have an update on the Hockey Canada scandal. Once again, we will be talking about themes of sexual assault. So if you do not want to listen to this, feel free to fast forward. We will leave in the show notes what time to pick us back up at.
So last we talked, these 5 players were just asked to report to Canada, to the London, Ontario police. And now they have been officially charged. Mm-hmm. And they are being charged as a group, not individually, which I believe when we last spoke was what we thought was going to happen. But they are being charged, and they are being charged with sexual assault, which is actually a little bit more serious than I think anybody thought. So, and that's really the news on that.
Yeah, and I think I saw somewhere, I'm not sure if it was in this article that we can link or if it was on Instagram or something, but they're planning the trial for as early as April. So definitely trying to get this moving quickly compared to some other court cases we've seen.
Yeah, honestly, no matter how it shakes out now that they've been charged, it's going to be hard for these 5 players to come back from that if they are exonerated. And if they are exonerated, they definitely deserve to have a path to figure out if and how they can come back. But there's going to be some stigma around it, and there's hopefully some soul searching and outreach from them. So keep you posted on the less than optimal hockey news.
But let's transition back into something a little more fun. It's a total 180 from what we just talked about, but the NHL, given that they have a broadcasting contract with ABC and ESPN, which are owned by the Walt Disney Company, did something a little fun to try and bring in the next generation of hockey fans. And they had the Big City Greens Classic. So this was an animated game where the teams, the Penguins and the Bruins, looked like cartoon characters throughout this game.
Which is super cute.
It is. I will say the Big City Greens animation style is a little weird. And the whole way that this kind of gets reflected on the ice looks a little weird. I would have preferred the way the NFL does this with Nickelodeon, where you are still watching the actual game, but they add some more fun things in, like when the players score, they call it the slime zone, and you've got the Nickelodeon slime going, and they have like the color commentary is still with, you know, a football expert, but then it also has kids who are reporting on the game too. And I think, like, me personally, anytime the NFL is broadcasting a game with Nickelodeon, I will watch the Nickelodeon broadcast over the CBS broadcast because it's just so fun. And I think it's an awesome way to get families and kids involved in watching the game. So I would like to see the NHL do something like that where you're still seeing the game and it's not a completely animated,
just straight animation
version of the game.
I think that's fair. I think they'll figure it out as they go along. I just like that they're trying things. And I do think they are, with the different stadium series games, outdoor games, international games, I think they're doing a good job of reaching more people and trying to be more relevant. And you can say what you want about the benefits and the pros and cons of what you do during Cultural Awareness Month, but I actually think what they've been doing is helping in bringing a more diverse audience to the game. So same with kids. Kids consume content differently. I mean, we know that. We spent most of our adult lives figuring out what kids would like, so I get it.
It is true. But yes, I do think this is a fun thing for the NHL to try.
Cool. So pivoting leagues now, we've talked about the NHL at length. We've talked about the PWHL quite a bit, but we actually haven't checked in on their standings.
Yes, and since we talked about how the playoffs work in the last episode, let's check in on where things are at for the league.
Yeah, so after winning the inaugural game, New York has, I'm just going to put it bluntly, shit the bed.
Yeah, I was a little surprised when I pulled up the standings this morning to take a look at it, and they've only won 2 regulation games.
Yep. New York is dead last. I am still a New York fan until I have a Florida team, which better be in Tampa, by the way. We're much better hockey fans. Just saying.
I think it'll be a long time before we see a team down here, though, because these are all pretty northern region, close to each other for travel.
If you're going to do one, you better put one in Florida before you put it in California. Just saying. We're better hockey fans. But topping the standings is Toronto, followed by Montreal. And both of those teams have 30 points. So they are tied with points, but Toronto leads because they have 1 more games. Minnesota is coming in 3rd. 4th is Boston. 5th is Ottawa. And then my New York team. Oh, God. So as it stands now, Toronto is going to be that team that gets to pick who they play.
Yes, but up until today, Montreal had been holding that number 1 spot strong. So I have a feeling we're going to see some flip-flopping as the season progresses to find out who's going to clinch that top spot. But I am very excited for the people of Toronto to have a good team that could actually do something.
This is the team they deserve.
It is the team they deserve.
They're good. They play hard. And I know they are supporting them. But you know what? Go watch these ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Boys, go watch the ladies.
Yep. The other thing I found interesting was that Toronto has no overtime losses. Every time it goes to overtime, they've won.
Yeah, I did find that interesting. I think women's hockey, it's a great showcase of honestly Canadian hockey. Like, as much as I want a New York team to win, I think the fact that Canada has gone so long without a Stanley Cup, I would love for a Canadian team to win some title. So, but not the Leafs, because their fans annoy me. So we'll keep you posted on this, but it's going to be a race to the finish, and we will cover the PWHL playoffs the same way we are covering the NHL playoffs, and we're going to kick that off soon. And I'm also really excited to see what happens with their draft, because this will be a year where they definitely have to go beyond the Olympic teams for the US and Canada. So it'll be interesting.
All right. Well, let's close it out, and we'll be right back with period 2. And we are back. Today we are going to talk about overtime. So we have talked about overtime in the shootout in the past, but this is a rule that I did not know existed until this happened. So,
Yeah.
the Minnesota Wild were playing the Nashville Predators, and Minnesota is fighting hard for their playoff spot.
Yep.
Game goes into overtime, 3-on-3 overtime, like we've talked about before. And Minnesota makes the bold move to pull their goaltender.
Yep.
Now,
They do.
the thing that is wild about this is the NHL rules say in 3-on-3 overtime that if you pull your goalie for an extra attacker and the opposing team ends up scoring in an empty net goal, you forfeit the point you would have got with an overtime loss.
I also didn't know that until this, and that's wild.
Yes.
But when you really think about 3-on-3 play, I don't know if it's that crazy, because it's a lot of neutral zone time.
Sometimes it gets crazy.
Rarely.
I like 3-on-3 overtime, but
I didn't say I didn't like it. I just said there's a lot of neutral zone action. There's a lot of going in, coming out. We're being leisurely.
I think there's also a lot more strategy that goes into it of trying to figure out how you're going to set it up, how you incorporate your goaltender as an extra player, because I have seen that happen before too.
Now you're sounding like an apologist for every time the Tampa Bay Lightning just pass way too much not on 3-on-3.
Oh no, I hate when they do that.
I'm joking. I don't know. I think it makes sense. Also, fun fact to bring it back to the New Jersey Devils, John Hines was the coach before Lindy, so we're just, we're making bold moves everywhere but New Jersey.
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
And it's like a ballsy move.
It is a ballsy move, but it worked out for Minnesota in the end. They did win the game, so they got the 2 points.
I wonder if this is going to start happening more, because you remember when people thought it was crazy to pull your goalie with more than a minute and a half, and now people are doing it at 3, 4, 5 minutes. I can't wait for the day someone just pulls their goalie in the middle of the second period.
There are times that I have said to do that because you have a power play, there's 10 seconds left before going into the next period or the period ends. Why not? 10 seconds is going to be hard to go, just take the extra attacker. I would be the Dan Campbell of hockey. We're going for it on 4th down. We're pulling the goalie.
I agree with you, though. I don't know why they only reserve it for the last minute or so of play when you're down 1 goal.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If you pull the goalie with the last 2 minutes of the second period, let's say, you have a whole nother period to try to make it back if they score a goal. I thought this was wild.
It is wild. Minnesota wild.
Minnesota wild. That was funny.
All right. Well, that's our quick little learn the basics today. A new rule that we all learned thanks to the Minnesota Wild pulling Marc-Andre Fleury in overtime. And we'll be back with our Anything Goes period.
We are back for period 3, where anything goes. And this is apparently just the episode where I'm just like ranting about
Oh, don't worry. I have a rant with this one.
So we are talking about sponsors patches on jerseys. And this is something that the NHL recently started allowing teams to do on the jersey and on the helmet. And my rant on this started because normally I have loved everything the PWHL has done thus far. I think a lot of the things, even if they don't necessarily stick, I think they're inventive and we'll see what happens. This one I think is dumb. So they have a new partnership with Molson, Canadian beer, in case anyone's not sure what that is. And they are moving the players' names to the bottom of the jersey below the numbers and putting the Molson on the top where the names go. And they put out a post and an ad about we're covering our name so hers can be seen.
Okay, as a marketer, I love that. I think it is very clever for them to do. And I do not have the same visceral reaction to the names being moved to the bottom that you do. I think at first I was like, that's weird. Why would you do that? But then when I saw their whole little marketing campaign, I was like, all right, I get it. Like, I have very long hair and it would most definitely cover my name on my jersey.
And I immediately saw it and went, this is PR bullshit to spin why they're giving a beer company top billing on the jersey. Because my problem with it is, one, most of them braid their hair or put it in some sort of bun and you can read it. Or they have short hair, and there's plenty of dudes who've got their flow going that you can't see it. But what it does to me, when you put it on the bottom, they're not top billing anymore. So now we are moving out of the realm of this is a professional league to make things equal. That pisses me off, one. Two, half the time when they play, their jerseys get tucked up into their pants, and you can't see it anyway. And three, it's harder to read on TV. I think it's harder to read on TV because you're not trained to look there.
Yeah. I don't know. I almost find it easier to read because now it's not covered by something.
It's not that it's covered. I just personally think it's in an inconspicuous place now. And I think it's giving a sponsor top billing over the professional athlete.
I get that.
You're not going to go to a Broadway show with a marquee and you're going to put like Timmy from Saskatchewan above Sutton Foster. That wasn't a good example because we're talking about companies. You're not going to put maybe she's born with it, maybe Maybelline above Sutton Foster.
Touché.
I don't know. I just think it's just.
However, I wonder if this actually stemmed from the NHL, though. Because if you recall, the god-awful NHL All-Star jerseys had the names on the bottom.
They did, and I thought that was dumb and hard to read on TV.
It was hard to read on TV because they picked a horrendous font. Everything about those jerseys was horrendous. But I can see where they went, well, wait a minute, let's think about this. Does it make that better for the women? I don't know.
My PR spidey senses just went off, and I was like, this is PR BS. I love how you went from marketing and were like, this is a great marketing. And I went, this is PR spin. This is propaganda.
I mean, it is, but it's a great marketing take on it.
It was a good spin. If I was the person in that, marketing room, I would have been like, touche, this is bullshit. But I'll take your point that you think it's better.
And we can agree to disagree. We don't have to agree on everything.
That is true. But don't give a spot. I guess this is my thing. If we're all trying to be equal, don't give a sponsor top billing and then say it's because her hair covers it.
What if the NHL does it next year because the PWHL did it?
It's dumb. I would tell them it's dumb.
I would tell them it's dumb too.
Because their jerseys get even more in their pants because they're little boys.
They do. I will say it does make me want to buy a jersey less, though.
Yeah.
Like,
it's going to go...
I don't mind seeing that, but it would make me think twice before purchasing one.
Yeah, we'll see. Propaganda artists over there.
Well, now for my rant about the jersey patches.
Yeah.
One of the things that the NHL has allowed is the small little sponsor logo on the front of the jersey. And the Red Wings decided to add one. And you know what happened next? They lost their next 4 games. They lost their wild card spot and have been shitting the bed. And I say it's a jinx. Don't mess with a jersey.
And there are some brands that are just iconic and you don't want to screw with.
And that's exactly what they did. The Wings were hot. They put a logo on the
And now they're not.
and now they jinxed it.
Well, I just think they have a brand that is very unique. And I don't know why you would screw with it. Simultaneously, I think back to the Toronto Maple Leafs, I also think they have an iconic brand, and I don't know why they ruined it by putting milk.
Yeah, and that's the only one that I actually can tell you that I remember seeing. If you were to give me a survey of any others, I'd be like, I have no idea. Well, I can tell you the Red Wings one is Priority, whatever the hell that is. I don't even know what the company is, but I just know that it is called Priority because this whole thing has annoyed me.
Well, and I think that's the thing. I think you remember milk because, one, it's a single word and it's an easy to read logo. And now we're just talking about the effectiveness of sponsorship in sports. If you don't have a simple logo, you're probably paying a ton of money for that. How many people do you remember? Teams. You just said none. Except for milk. Milk. Me too. That's the only one.
Priority, just because the whole thing has pissed me off with the Red Wings, but I don't actually know what that company is or does.
I remember another one, but it's not a jersey one. It's a helmet one. The Lightning have TGH on there. It's for Tampa General Hospital. And I don't know why that one I remember. Again, I think it's 3 letters and it's easy to read. But I don't know. Brands, I think you can be spending your money, maybe even still supporting the team in the arena or doing things with them or sponsoring an event for their youth league. Like, there are way better ways to spend your money.
Absolutely. Like, we all sit there and we know the Lexus Lounge, the Chase Club. I mean, I know those have changed now this season.
Right, and now you don't remember them.
Though I will eventually learn the new ones too, but I think...
Well, there is one, and this is that I will never accept.
Crypto.com Arena.
Yes, I will never accept Crypto.com Arena. Never. It will always be the Staples Center. But you're right. Like, we will learn the new ones if they're good.
And they stay for a while.
And they stay for a while. But I don't know. I don't think the jersey advertising is effective.
No. And I need to go and look actually at like Dylan Larkin's jersey, because here's the other thing. The Red Wings have approval from the NHL to put the captain and the alternate captain letter on the opposite side of the jersey from everybody else because of the way the Red Wing logo goes up. And then the letter would run into each other. Well, the Priority logo goes on the side where the C or the A would go. So I don't know if they've shifted it back. I'm going to have to go find a recent photo of Dylan Larkin.
Yeah, I don't know. Again. So I think we're both coming down with the NHL front sponsor logos that they are not effective and brands should spend their money somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Hot take.
Hot take.
We are marketing professionals, so we do know a little bit about what we're talking about here. Just a little.
Yeah.
And I think that's our show for today.
I think so.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did. I also realized I can't go and look for a Dylan Larkin photo. I'm going to have to find one of the alternate captains because Dylan Larkin's out hurt. So he hasn't played with that stupid patch.
Fair point.
I will. I'll hunt it down.
So, Muffy, where can the people find us?
Well, you can find us on all of the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, even Pinterest. Just look for Shut Your Five Hole Podcast or 5hole_pod on Twitter. You could also send us an email at shutyourfiveholepodcast@gmail.com. And you can find us on all of your favorite podcasting platforms.
Yes, and please don't forget, once you find us there, to rate, review, and subscribe. It really helps people find us. We are an independent podcast, and you guys rating us and sharing with your friends is how people find out about it. So we really appreciate you doing that. And with that, we'll talk to you next time.
See ya.